Hey, everybody. I don't see anybody. If you guys want to scroll down to the bottom left-hand corner, you can start video. I think everybody's slowly coming on.
I don't know why it's not done.
Okay, if you guys will scroll down bottom left corner, you'll see like a little video camera and click start video.
Hey, Molly. Are you there?
Yeah.
It's McKenna. I don't see that button. Is there somewhere else to find it?
Are you on your computer?
Yeah.
Well, when I scroll down, I get this like bar at the bottom of my computer. It has like a microphone that says like mute and unmute, and then like a video camera. It says like start, stop video. Do you see that?
It usually says that, but I don't see it right now. Let me just try to get off.
You may have clicked on the wrong link for some reason.
Okay, I'll try again.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to give just a minute for everybody to get on, and then I'll get started. Okay, if everybody that was not muted out will mute. Scroll to the bottom left, and you can hit mute. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So tonight, just for the record, this is Elevate Week 2 training, which is Think and Act Like a CEO. And I actually don't have a ton of information for you tonight because what I'm hoping is that this will just start a lot of thought process in your own head. And then we can kind of talk throughout the week on it. So if we're talking about thinking and acting like a CEO, first, I want to give you a little bit of background, which is just like really silly basic information. But a CEO, what that stands for is Chief Executive Officer. Some other nicknames for that are president, manager, director, or boss, okay? And a job title of a CEO, and I just like looked up some basic like Wikipedia information, but job title for CEO is presides over the company's day-to-day operations. Okay, and that's the main thing that I kind of want to stick in your head is day-to-day operations. All right, so if we think about just a typical business, like a brick and mortar business and what day-to-day operations look like, and I'm going to use my office as an example a lot tonight just because that's the office that I know, a business that I know. But if you think about just a typical brick and mortar business, how do we know that they're open for business? Okay, so you're going to see the lights are on, probably that like open sign. The doors will be unlocked. The phones will be ringing. Products on display, whatever it is that when you walk in or you pull up business, you know that they are open for business. Okay. So I'm going to just give you an example of my office, which is a really busy pediatric office. So before 8 a.m., if you were to walk into my office before 8 a.m., which 8 a.m. is kind of our start time, you're going to have, it's really funny, the girls in my office refuse to turn the lights on until 8 o'clock. So if you walk in before 8 o'clock, the lights are off. Like computer lights are on and maybe a little hallway light here and there, but none of our main like fluorescent lights are on before 8 o'clock. And I think it's just everybody's way of having like a really soft, quiet start to the day. But in the midst of that, emails are being answered. Voice messages are being listened to and returned. The girl in the lab, we have a lab director, which I'm going to come back and talk about her, but she's working on getting the lab up and running. Any providers that are there are looking over charts and signing charts and stuff like that. Okay, that's all happening before 8 a.m. And then once 8 a.m. hits, those fluorescent lights go on. The phones don't roll until 8 o'clock, so you'll actually start hearing phones ringing at 8 o'clock. We unlock the front door, so patients start coming in. The TVs in the waiting rooms go on. So 8 o'clock is like showtime, okay? So everybody knows, like, we open at 8. So my question to you guys is, what does that look like in our Meridian and Fields business? Because this business is so different than a brick and mortar business. So how do people know that we're open for business every day? What are the things that we should be doing every day to sort of like 8 o'clock hits, like showtime? Okay, so that's kind of where we're going with this, what we're going to be thinking along. So I want to get really practical, because I want this training to be super helpful in very practical suggestion ways. Okay, so for example, well, I'm going to come back to that. Okay, so one of the very best piece of advice that I think I've ever gotten in this business was probably 2 years ago at convention. I heard Romy Neustadt speak, which she's probably like my Meridian and Fields hero. If you haven't read her book, oh my gosh, I highly recommend her book. But Romy Neustadt spoke, and she was giving us really specific examples for ways to organize your week and ways to kind of get your business open. Okay. And her best piece of advice that I walked away with, I think I wrote down every word she said that day, but the best piece of advice I walked away with was, take Sunday nights to get organized. Take 1 hour on Sunday nights to get your business, to get your life organized, get your calendar organized, and to get your business organized. Okay. And that will transform your entire week. If you were to know on Sunday nights, here's what I'm doing on Monday, here's what I'm doing on Tuesday, you can probably get your business done in an hour a day if you're already organized. Okay. So I want us to kind of think through some things of what that would look like. All right, so daily, and these are just suggestions, and it's going to be different for everybody depending on where you are with a team and what your team members are up to and how many preferred customers you have. But I just want to give you suggestions of what a daily checklist may look like, what a weekly checklist, and what a monthly. If you're like me, I love lists. Okay, I love to have a list. On Sunday night, I love to know what I'm going to be checking off every day of the week. So I just want to start throwing ideas at you so you guys can start thinking about, like, what does my daily checklist need to look like in Meridian and Fields business? What does my weekly checklist need to look like? What does my monthly checklist need to look like? Okay. So in order to be a Meridian and Fields CEO, some things that should probably be happening on a daily basis, and y'all may have other ideas for me too, but checking your email. You got to check your email. What if you send an email out 3 days ago and someone's responded, they're ready to join your team, and you haven't checked your email in 3 days? Okay. Checking all the Facebook team pages that are probably the most pertinent. That may be like Home Base. That may be Team 320. Looks like somebody started screen sharing here. Let me see if I can turn that off. Sorry, hang on. All right. And then among a daily checklist would be reaching out to 2 people. So that should be, and that may be just like a daily number that's an easy to hit, is a two a day reach outs. Okay. And there's probably a million other things that you may be doing too, but those are just some ideas of sort of getting started, what your day may look like. Now, weekly, here's a list of what your weekly may look like. And I tend to organize by day of the week. Like on Monday's my day to kind of touch base with my directs. They probably know on Monday mornings as I'm driving to CrossFit, they're getting these like voicemail text messages from me. But so Mondays, I try to touch base with my team. So if you have teammates, touching base with them. On Tuesdays, I try to listen to a training call on my lunch break. So some ideas, listening to training calls, either the weekly training call or hitting the daily experience and hearing the latest one there. Checking in with your PCs that are ready to ship that week, finding out what they need and how you need to edit their cart. Posting to Facebook, that should be happening several times a week. I'm not an everyday girl, but it's totally up to you guys. So making sure that if Facebook gets posted several times a week. Monthly checklists, okay? So every month, the very first day of the month, I make a checklist of all of my auto ships that are going to be going that month. The other thing that I make sure that is probably happening on a monthly basis is participating in incentives. Is there somebody in your upline that's doing some sort of competition or some sort of incentive that you know you need to be participating in, and sort of looking at your month and like, how are you going to participate in that? How many PC, whatever the program is or whatever the contest is, what do you need to do, on your weekly basis to participate in that monthly checklist. Inviting to events. So that's something I do at the very beginning of the month as I look at the calendar and figure out which events are coming up. And sometimes usually there's an in-person event, and then there's usually a Facebook event. And so I go ahead and make lists for myself of who I'm going to invite to that in-person event and who I'm going to invite to that Facebook event. And so then I know, 2 weeks out, I need to start those invitations. And so that needs to be moved up to my weekly checklist. And then if you're growing a team towards the end of the month, something I start doing usually the last week of the month is watching my teammates' buckets. So am I getting to the very last of the month and I have somebody that has like 1,200 in their 600 bucket and hasn't filled their 100 bucket? Well, I need to touch base with them and say, hey, don't forget about your 100 bucket. You're about to miss out on a ton of commission. Okay, so those are just random. I know I just threw a lot at y'all really fast, but what I'm hoping that we're going to do over this week is start to make a checklist of like, what does it look like to turn the lights on in your business every day? So what should be happening daily? What should be happening probably on a weekly basis? And then what should be happening on a monthly basis? And then just to kind of give you a little example before we sign off, and I'm going to sign off with some homework ideas, but the basis behind this idea is, yes, just so that we're turning the lights on and you're working your business, because your business is going to grow when you're working in little daily chunks every single day. Okay. But think about when you start growing a team, if you just imagine 2 years down the road, say you have hundreds of team members. What do you want them to be doing? What do you wish if you could give them a checklist to be doing every day, every week, every month? What do you hope that looks like? That's what you need to be doing now, okay? Because they're going to be following your footsteps. So a lot of times I feel like as your team grows and you get a lot of people, there tends to be a temptation to get lazy sometimes. Because you can tend to think like, oh, well, I don't need to do much today. I bet my team is working and I'll still see my volume increase if I don't do anything today. And I have an example to give you for that. So, at our office, like I was just telling you about, before 8 o'clock, all those things that are going, even once 8 o'clock hits, the lights are on. The phone is ringing, patients are being checked in, and in the lab, we have a lab technician and she has a daily checklist. And this is what I want you guys to be thinking of. Like, she counts the immunizations and she runs blood samples to make sure the computer's working right. And she has a checklist that's she could probably do that with her eyes closed now. When she walks into that lab in the morning and opens that lab and gets things going, she could probably do that with her eyes closed. That's what it should be like with her business. I mean, before I even get out of bed in the morning, I check my email, I check my Facebook messages, and I check the pages that I need to be looking at. So I kind of know like, okay, well, Becky gets up at freaking 4:45 a.m. every morning. So if she has a major announcement for the day, it's usually up by the time I'm awake, okay? Or a text message from her telling me something I need to be doing. So, same thing at my office, things are going, and I will tell you what happens is we'll all be there kind of doing our thing. I'm checking over charts, and there is this sound that happens about usually 8:45, and it is Dr. Greg's key in the door. And I don't know why everybody knows the sound of his key. I don't know how it's different than the rest of our keys because it's the same door, it's the same lock. But we know when his key goes in that back door and the door opens, it is like the environment changes. Not that anybody was slacking or anything, but it is like everyone sits up a little bit straighter. Everybody puts their game face on because the boss is in the building. Okay. So it's like we hear that key, it's game time. And that's kind of what I want you guys to think about with your business is if you're showing up daily and if you're showing your team and your customers that you're showing up daily, people will know it's game time. Your team's going to know it's game time. Your customers are going to know that you're open for business. And there's just sort of a change in posture and there's kind of a change in the environment when that happens. And that's the way that you want your team to be working. That's what you want to be teaching your team as you're growing is just some things to be doing every day. So I don't want to keep repeating myself, but that's what I want us to think about this week is it's Sunday night. So it's a great time to take an hour and go ahead and kind of get organized. But what I want to see from you guys, and I'll post some examples, but what I want to see from you guys are just some lists or whatever way you choose to go about getting organized. But for a CEO of your Rodan and Fields business, what are some weekly checklists? Well, sorry, let's start with daily. What are some daily things that you need to be doing? And one of the biggest things, and this is up to you. I've never been super successful with this, but a lot of people set hours of operation. I mean, our office has hours of operation. Kroger has hours of operation. Okay. So that may be one thing that you need to do. And if you're getting organized on Sunday nights, man, when you sit down for your hours of operation during the day, you're going to know exactly what has to be checked off. So that may be another thing to think about within your list of your daily list of what are your hours of operation? When are you going to fit this hour in? Is it going to be on your lunch break? Is it going to be during your kids' nap time, after the kids go to bed? But just be thinking. Y'all can be as creative as you want. But the list I'm going to be looking for, what are some daily checklists, what are some weekly checklists, and what are some monthly checklists of things that basically open up your Rodan and Fields for business, okay? And I'll stop there because I feel like I could keep repeating myself on this stuff. But I'll post some examples, and I can't wait to see y'all's examples. I think we'll probably learn a lot from each other, seeing what each other posts, because there's probably some things that we'll forget about or we won't think about till we see each other's stuff. So I hope that was helpful. The first time I ever heard this information, it was like a light bulb for me. I was like, oh, because you don't think about this business as being a brick and mortar business of having to turn the lights on and get the people working and stuff. So, all right, good night, and we'll stay in touch on the Elevate page this week.